there's a conservative mentality to this Arsenal team that is holding us back. I don't think we're bottlers. I don't think it's that, in my opinion. People can disagree and that's fine.
Only one place to start, Joseph, and that is by talking about Arsenal, because interesting midweek performance. He is very happy about this. 2-0 up against Wolves. Obviously, it finished 2-2. Now, for context, it's worth pointing out Arsenal are still 5 points clear at the top of the table. Man City do have that game in hand, but a lot of people were talking about their recent results. Won 2 of their last 7 Premier League games, and it got a lot of Arsenal fans, a lot of football fans in general, talking about what's happening at Arsenal, and it gave us a bit of an idea. The Saturday Social whiteboard is out.
Yeah,
explain what we're doing.
Absolutely. We've tasked Alex with quite a difficult sort of area of chat here, haven't we? Because a lot of Arsenal fans, a lot of people online, a lot of narrative around the issues surrounding Arsenal's title race, the perceived problems that could well develop over this next 12-game run. So we've kind of pitched some ideas to Alex of some of those potential pitfalls that could well happen. We've got the whiteboard out. We've got A to E, A being the biggest problem facing them, E being the least big.
Start with fixtures?
Start with fixtures, I think.
Cool.
Yeah, so how big of a problem is the fixture list that you perceive? Because we can see the fixtures on screen now.
Yeah, I think it's worth pointing out the comparison, isn't it?
It's tight between you and City. These are both very difficult run-ins.
Yeah, I would say relatively, it's not one of the biggest issues. I think Opta have something like the 5th easiest run-in or something like that. I don't know how much this matters. Zac and I were talking about this before. We don't leave London that much. So I don't know whether that's particularly relevant or not. I look at City, and maybe this is my bias at the minute, trying to sort of stave away the fear, but I look at some pretty scary away days at relegation-threatened clubs. I look at Leeds, I look at West Ham, Burnley potentially at the end of the season. That's what I'm looking at. I also think in terms of the Champions League, we've got some fixtures that look all right between the sort of round of 16 and the quarterfinals as well. The final thing I'll say is the Carabao Cup. That's not on there, but that is the big one for me. That is the big one. I think that might be bigger than the Premier League.
Ooh, Zac, looking at the fixtures side by side, who do you think's got a tougher run-in?
I think the tough run is City. I think also they've got to go and win that game in hand. They get a draw against Palace in this case here. That puts it kind of back into Arsenal's favour again. So I do think it is City. I don't think it's by much. I think Leeds away, I think it's like 5:30 that game, does make a little bit of a difference. That isn't an easy game. Under lights for sure.
It is tight, isn't it?
It is tight.
I think big deal's made when there's a title running. You always look at a team with sometimes have more favourable fixtures. I don't think there's a lot in that.
I should mention it as well. We do go away to the Etihad.
Yeah, that's a big one.
We haven't actually mentioned that.
What do you think, Al?
The thing with the game away at the Etihad is, I remember a few years ago when they went to the Etihad, drew 0-0, and there was a bit of a narrative that was Arsenal showing a poor mentality, whatever. I think going away to City and drawing is just a good result in general. But I think it's worth Arsenal in that game taking the risk and going for that as a win and risking a loss. Because if they win that game there, I think the title's basically done, mentally at least.
And worth pointing out, you put it in D, so you don't perceive that as one of the bigger problems.
Yeah,
we'll
so
move on to the next category.
A would be one of the bigger ones. Yeah, there's some tough ones, but I don't think it's the biggest one.
Okay, what we got next? On-pitch management. Now, what are we talking about here?
On-pitch, so tactics, literally the stuff, the player selection, things like that. Look, we are top of the league, and I think it's important to say that we got through in the Champions League, top of the league stage there. We're through in the Carabao Cup. We've got one game left. We're critiquing a team who've done a lot right. But I think a lot of people feel from the on pitch there's a stagnancy, especially in the final third. I think the area that people feel most upset by is the lack of access to the dangerous areas. We play so much outside people's shape. We play even against Wolves. When you've got 5. Naturally, you've got a spare man outside the shape, so you can combine inside. You can carry inside, and you've got the spare man to go in there. We kept playing around the shape. It's like we're trying to get the advantage outside against a 5. It made no sense to me. I think also from a selection perspective, Zubimendi has something like 3,000 minutes played. It's mid-February. I think we could have used Norgard more. Timber, similarly, Timber's form has completely dropped off a cliff, and I think it's because he's knackered. But I think really what people feel, and we're going to talk about sort of mentality a little bit later, is the frustration with the fact that we just feel like we're not attacking the game. We're happy to hold it, control. And this is just one other thing. I think on Arteta, he had an interview recently where he spoke about sort of his mentality and how he sees football. He says he doesn't see it in different phases. He doesn't see it in attacking phases. He sees it as one whole thing. And I think you can sort of see that. You can see that while the players are attacking, they're thinking about, I need to be here for the rest defence. And I'd love to see us flip that mentality a little bit.
Oh, what do you make of the use of Eze? Because obviously, it's so effective for you, but this season, it feels like over the last couple of months, it has struggled to make an impact.
I said when they signed him that I don't think he would necessarily be the difference between Arsenal winning the league and not winning the league. And at times at Palace last year, he did go missing in games, especially up until like March. He was having a poor season at Palace. People wanted him dropped, and then we always had a joke that March to May Eze is like prime Messi. Like he just turned into an unbelievable player every year. So maybe the same thing will happen. But it's interesting what you were saying. Like he needs freedom to play, and I see him so much like in that kind of edge of the box area. And he just never gets the ball, ever. And I don't think he shows for it as much as he possibly could, but it's frustrating when you have a maverick player like that. I thought that was a show of intent of Arsenal to go and sign a player like Eze, and it shows that maybe they're going to be willing to give players more freedom, but he just hasn't had that at all.
Yeah, I think it could be a positioning thing. Look, it's always a balance, and we've got so much right this season. I don't want people to think we're miles off it. We're top of the league, but there is a bit of a profiling issue, certainly with certain players. Saka's been out on that right wing, and we've got him in century, and I think that could be a fix. Gyökeres, we've used him as a hold-up guy sometimes. That's not who he is. He's a channel runner. Zubimendi sometimes is put in situations where I think big spaces he's got to cover. That's more Rice's job. He does get it right a lot of the time, but he doesn't always, and it can hurt us.
Where's that going then?
I think I can't. It could go in B, but I can't. Again, the position we're in, I think there's bigger issues, so I'm going to put it in C.
Okay, and there's a similar one we're doing next. So do you want to explain this category?
Yes.
So you've got off-pitch management.
Off-pitch, so sort of ego management, sort of narrative management, upwards management, sort of looking after the group, whether the group is sort of splintering. I don't feel that. However, last night, our technical director resigned with immediate effect.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I didn't know.
So I don't know what's happened. I'm not saying that's Arteta's fault at all, but obviously that doesn't tell you. He got promoted in the summer from head of recruitment to technical director. So that tells you there's something has gone awry. The one thing I would say here, I think generally the group feels together. I do think you've got leaders in there, people like Declan Rice and so on. I think the one thing I'd love Arteta to do, he comes out and he often talks about the standards of the game, and we've done the right things, and you just need something to fall for you. I'd love him to go, let's breathe a bit of life into this, and take a little bit more for himself and say, I can free them up a little bit. Because I think that's what everyone feels. Everyone watching Arsenal, I'm sure all of you would go, they just need a bit of freeing up. Everyone can see it. And I don't think Arteta always says that.
Originally, that was the thing where he did that with Arsenal. It didn't work out. You guys didn't win the league. And I think that kind of scarred him quite badly.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, he's been like, you know what? Defensive first, let's make sure, let's protect our own net and kind of build up from there. And ever since, I can't remember exactly what season it was, because there was a time Arsenal were playing free-flowing football. It looked incredible. Things Gabby Jesus was on fire. Yeah. And then it didn't work out in the end. And ever since then, he's kind of changed his thinking.
Yeah, it's always a balance. And look, there were some numbers that came out this week that every single team, by yours, United, have gone down from an open play XG perspective. So you're in a context. The league is physical, and I understand what he's doing, but it's breathing. He actually, after United, he did say, we're trying to enjoy it a bit more, and everyone's going, okay, great. But it feels like we went back into our fear, and we're going to come to a conversation later about this. And I do feel that's a factor. I think it's not a massive one for me. I'd probably put it in D.
Okay.
I think the group is pretty.
E, honestly.
The group's pretty together.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about the group then. Let's talk about the squad.
So the squad as a whole.
Is this a problem?
No.
How can this be a problem?
No, this is a fantastic squad. And I think there are issues, which we'll come to. But when I look at the talent in this group, how many times have we sat on here and done combined 11s with Gabriel and Saliba, and we're just, I'm just waxing lyrical.
Best squad in the league, isn't it?
It's also not just you mentioned the starting players, it's depth, because there'd been an argument that Man City, Arsenal, who've got the strongest 11, but actual squad, I think a lot of people would say strength in depth is where Arsenal's big strength is.
I think arguably that's why people have been so frustrated sometimes this season. And we're going to talk about injuries in a second. It hasn't actually derailed us massively. We've had a similar-ish amount of injuries, but actually we haven't been derailed. The squad in themselves as well, I think, is a peak age. If you look at a lot of the ages, we've found the right age. A lot of these guys are 25, 26, 27. They're the right time to be winning a Premier League. So I don't think it's the problem at all for me. So I'll put it in E.
Yep. Next up, you mentioned it there then, injuries.
Yeah.
It's looking okay now, isn't it? There's not many
clear.
that you've got.
He's injured.
One of the best records of anyone in the league now.
Right now, yeah. I would say, and look, people aren't maybe necessarily going to be sympathetic to this, but I'll try. There's certain players who've been injured, like Kai Havertz, who have an out. I would say the only, players like Declan Rice would be above him, but there's certain players you really need them. Kai Havertz is so important to what we do, on and off the ball. As a reference, we also, and again, I'll try this one, people won't like this, Marino. When we don't, I know a lot,
What are you laughing about,
but
Jack?
when people,
What are you laughing
when we
tried to replace Havertz, they got it wrong.
That's what I was saying about the squad. Like,
But-
how can you say the squad is E when you're still leaning so much on players from?
Can I give you a
previous years?
specific example from Brentford? We didn't have Havertz or Marino available that game. So that means that Keith Andrews goes into that game saying they have no reference. So if we press them, they have no one to go to. And someone like a Marino gives us that, it's that squad thing you're just talking about. It gives us that valve, someone who can step up from midfield and be that reference. And we've had injuries, and for example, actually, Gabriel and Saliba had, I think, more time out individually, but they've had quite a few games out together this season. So there's been sort of clusters in moments. It's not, I wouldn't say, I'm not going to put it in A, but it has been a problem. Odegaard's been out. Saka's had.
Smith is
players
in with
out.
13 injuries.
What am I listening to? We've got 13 players out.
but
Man
It's an
City
issue
have
that
had
everyone has, isn't it?
Man City have
Everyone
had
has.
multiple players out.
Yeah.
I actually look at Arsenal's injuries recently. I know the start of the season.
Yeah.
And I think there's hardly. I mean, we look at the stats guys were saying is Marino out till May, and all the others could return.
Yeah,
There's only
right
one
now.
or two players that are potentially out. Trossard, I know, is a doubt.
I think I would say that's right now. I think across the season we've had injuries.
Okay, where are you sticking it then?
I'll put it in D or E.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll put it in D.
So lots of positives
So
at the
very
moment. Not
positive
many,
so far.
not many issues at all.
Next up, recruitment. So look at
Okay.
signings.
So this has been I want to sort of isolate this more to like the last maybe 18 months. I think if you look historically, Arsenal's recruitment's been pretty good, basically, since the Cronkies have come in.
Highest net spend in the summer was. Yeah.
Generally got it right. But I do have some question marks. I have some specific question marks. One, Christian Norgard. If you're going to sign that guy and play Declan Rice and Zubimendi so much, you have to play him. Him and Ben White, I think, have something like 100 Premier League minutes between them in 2026. It's so I'm not, when I'm saying recruitment and a lot of these, I'm not necessarily saying the player's the problem. It's like if you're going to sign them and don't trust them, that's an issue. I also look in the summer. I think Noni Madueke is going to be a fantastic footballer, a fantastic player for Arsenal. But when Antoine Semenyo is available for £65 million and he was £50 million, I question that use of funds. I think there were maybe better usage as well. The final one is obviously Victor Gyökeres. I came on in the summer. I wasn't quite sure about it. I think he's got unlucky with Kai Havertz's injury, to be honest. I don't think he was meant to play that much. But from a recruitment perspective, there are some questions, specifically in the forward areas. Signing that superstar over the last 3-4 years, we haven't quite done that.
Boys, where are you on,
What do
where
you
are you on
think?
this?
I think he's spot on, to be honest. Look, I was somebody who, with the Madueke signing, again, I agree. I think he is a really good player. The issue for me was more so the glaringly obvious hole was the left wing. It was the place where go and get the superstar there, go and get somebody who's going to take your attack to a better place. In Arsenal starting best 11, essentially, especially at the time, obviously it might change now that Saka's moving into the 10, but at the time, signing Madueke, he wouldn't get into that best 11. That was Saka's position. And I thought the left wing was a glaringly obvious one, and Semenyo could have been that fix. And then obviously Semenyo signed a new deal, went in January, and he might be the difference in the end of the season for Man City. As for Gyökeres, I think it was tough because every top club in the summer wanted a striker. Manchester United, Chelsea, numerous others across Europe were after a striker, and Victor Gyökeres was the gamble. He'd scored all these huge numbers in Portugal. But again, that was kind of the issue. It was in Portugal. But we'd also seen him do it against Manchester City in the Champions League. My issue was I think they misprofiled him. And I looked at him in scoring these big numbers over in Portugal in a style of football that was a lot more different to, or very different to how Arsenal play, and then just expected him to join Arsenal and be able to do this, and he's not been able to do that.
Oh,
I think you mentioned earlier about Arteta being scarred after 22-23. I think the same thing's happened with the recruitment, that last year there were so many injury problems, so it was like, right, we're not going to make that happen again. We're going to make sure we have 2 players every position. But as a result, missed out on another issue, which was that superstar player. As you said, I think the fact that we're still in this situation in 2026 and Trossard and Martinelli are rotating minutes on the left and you've got Havertz and Marino, you said 2 key players up front, I think that's like a bit of a red flag. As much as I like Madueke and Eze as players in general, I'm like, there's just something missing.
Even from an attacking perspective, the players who were of it, Mateta, Watkins, over the last couple of years, João Pedro, I'm not saying these are perfect players, but there were better players on the market.
You would take all of them over Gyökeres, would you?
Yeah, I would.
There was also Premier League experience there, right, as well. Like in one of the most crucial positions for Arsenal to get them on that way to the end of the league, or to lift that league. they needed, I think, some sort of guarantee. You're never going to get guarantees, but at least if you've seen them how they work in the Premier League, it can definitely help towards.
Okay, where are you sticking it, mate?
I'm going to put it in B, but I'm isolating this to the last 2 years. I think our recruitment historically has been really good, but right now to win this
fair
title.
Enough. Your list, absolutely fine, mate. So next up, we're going with mentality. Now, I feel like this is a big talking point, certainly amongst Arsenal fans
and online.
And online, yeah. First time in Premier League history, incidentally, that the team bottom of the table avoided defeat versus the league leaders despite trading by 2 goals. 7 points from winning positions you've dropped in the last 5 Premier League games. But, again, for context, still top of the league. So where do you sit on the mentality debate that is raging on social media?
This is A, but not for the reason I think a lot of people would say.
What's the reason?
Our main issue, I feel, from top to bottom, from every decision we make, from the tactics, from the lineups, from the recruitment to what we do on the pitch, the decisions on the pitch, comes, in my opinion, from a conservative, do the right thing rather than the thing you feel, and the thing that is go and grab the game, by the scruff of the neck, go and force the issue. I feel like Arteta's entire game model and our entire club feels a little bit like just run by data, basically. It feels a little bit sort of do the right thing, keep doing the right thing, and eventually that'll happen. And the thing is if we were sat around the table with Mikel Arteta, it's quite hard to disagree with that. It's quite hard to say, well, but the data says this. But sometimes you do need to go and grab a game. You do need to go and say, actually, the right thing to do here is probably stand here because of the rest defence. But I feel like if I get a shot off here, it's going to lift the crowd. Whether it's the lineups, whether it's slow substitutions, whether it's the recruitment, as I say, whether it's playing the same players over and over again, there's a conservative mentality to this Arsenal team that is holding us back. I don't think we're bottlers. I don't think it's that, in my opinion. People can disagree and that's fine.
Do you think they're bottlers?
I think they bottled the Wolves game. I don't think overall, we spoke about this beforehand, I think a lot of that narrative has been a bit unfair over the past few years, but mentality is such like a vague term. I think about Palace winning the FA Cup last year. People wouldn't have said we're winners. You're winners. You're not winners until you are winners. Exactly. And sometimes you need luck. And it's interesting you say about having the feel of a game. We won the quarter-final, semi-final and the final of that because Eze scored 3 brilliant goals to open the scoring in each of those games because he felt empowered to go and do that. But it's so, if Arsenal win the league this year, it doesn't all of a sudden make them like mentally stronger, I don't think. It's just so much of it can just fall into like, what if Bueno doesn't score that lovely finish to make it 2-1? Like, it's just, I don't know. One
of the best moments from Arsenal fans from the last couple of seasons is the Declan Rice free kicks. And he said after the game, Bukayo Saka said to him, if you feel it, go for it. And he did. He was going to cross because that's the right thing to do. But it won us the game.
So if you're putting that in A, the next category we've got, does it intrinsically link into this one? Because I know the next category is experience, isn't it? So put that one up, put mentality up.
Can I just say one more thing as well? I think for Arteta's kind of game model and thinking, and where a lot of it is based on the opposition. It's based on, well, they don't like to, they've analysed them unbelievably, I'm sure, but they don't like doing this, so we're going to get them to do this. But what that means is you then play to the game. Sometimes focus on yourself, focus on what you do well.
Okay. So experience, again, we're looking at sort of recent history. And
is this not linked?
It's massively linked. It's massively linked. Look, I think from an experience perspective, look, we want a community shield. Do you know what I mean? We're massive.
Big competition.
It's
I
huge.
agree.
Exactly. Thank you. Look, I think it is intrinsically linked. Look, as I said earlier, this is a group of prime age players. It depends what you mean by experience. You mean experience winning titles? No, but experience of top level Premier League games, of winning big games. Let's be clear, Arsenal have won some massive, massive games in the last couple of seasons. I don't think what's holding us back is a group who don't know how to approach a big game. I also don't, as you said earlier, I don't really believe in this thing of like, oh, you don't know how to win. It's so nebulous to me. They know how to, for me, the bigger issues are what I was talking about earlier, the conservatism.
Yeah.
Okay, so where would you put experience?
C. I don't. It's not massive for me.
Stick that because I know the next couple categories are big.
Yeah, next one's got a big one. You look at rivals. Where do you stand on this, Zach, before we go to... Because obviously look at Man City's recent form. Again, it ties in a little bit with experience. Man City have won 6 of the last 8 Premier League titles. So the fear amongst Arsenal fans, I'm gathering, is that if there is a blip, Man City have that mentality experience of
And I think
doing
this is also a situation where Pep thrives. I think Pep loves this. I think sometimes when you can see him drop the ball or fall off is when he doesn't have that person to go against, that team to... for years it was Jurgen Klopp in Liverpool. He loved that. He loved kind of, we're better than them, we're going to go and beat them every single time. And he did that more often than not. I think one of the... now that Man City are in this again and they feel like they've got this, I think, as you mentioned earlier, Pep will grab that and by the horns and take it for City. I think probably it is one of the biggest issues, and it's also ultimately something that Arsenal can't really affect too much until they play them at the Etihad.
Yeah, I think it's an issue, probably in B, I'd say. But I think I think ultimately it's Man City, really. I mean, that's the reason you got him on the thing.
That's why it's sitting the trophy. Yeah.
City are the issue. That's the problem.
I wonder if we should do the next two together, actually, because they are kind of intrinsically linked. We've got outside noise and fans. And I feel like a lot of the noise externally to the club is generated, especially online, by a bit of a nervous fan base. Like, what do you think, Cole?
I mean, yeah, I think that's where the mentality issues almost stem from, is just the noise. I think they're the most spoken about team, I think, in the Premier League, and have been for a couple of years. And when there's that feeling of kind of the sharks circling and people don't want Arsenal to win the league, it makes it hard. Like when you draw to Wolves, it's one of the most spoken about things ever. But when City a few weeks before go to Spurs and drop a 2-0 lead against a team who in the form table are level on points with Wolves over the last 10 games, people have already forgotten about that. People didn't really care. But now,
do they help themselves though?
I mean, does any fan want to be my argument?
I've seen Arsenal fans this season, and fair enough when you're up top of the league. But I've seen Arsenal fans this season. I've had Arsenal fans say to me, genuinely, "Oh, how have you not accepted that we won the league? How have you not accepted? It's February. How have you not accepted we won the league?"
Yeah.
And I think when you say things like that, you then can't be surprised when a fan base beat you or a team beat you, and the opposition fan bases are all over the moon. I think.
Do you think that fuels it a bit?
Yeah, 100%.
Because we did see the Wolves fans in the stadium, didn't we? Wolves
Second
fans in the
again,
stadium, obviously targeting Arsenal fans as well. Do you think that's going to become a sort of narrative that's generated at each ground? Like, that fixture, I feel, is immediately popping in everybody's calendar now.
I think, look, the most monetisable and relevant narrative about Arsenal is the one on the pitch. Like, ultimately, that's the one. There's other ones for other, but this is the one that will just keep coming back, which is why it's so frustrating that we don't go and grab it, because that would sort of ease that pain. I think. I never feel. I'll probably put outside noise above it. I never feel comfortable blaming fans as an issue.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think it's like a bit. It's like
fair enough.
It's a cart before the horse argument. I think this because I do think it gets them a little bit. I do. I mean, ultimately, it's 2026. They see it.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know.
They do.
Enjoyed that. So there is confirmation of the Saturday Social whiteboard. Alex Moneypenny ranking the biggest issues in Arsenal's title race. He's got mentality at A. Interesting. Let us know what you think of that at home.